Geopolitical tensions dominate discourse at Davos 2025. The World Economic Forum, WEF 2025, has emerged as an indispensable stage for addressing the fault lines of today's fragmented global order. This year, the forum underscores the peril posed by escalating armed conflicts, elevating it as the most pressing risk confronting humanity. This recognition serves as a sobering acknowledgement of how geopolitical rivalries continue to reshape international dynamics. Under the banner of navigating a fractured world, fostering resilience amidst uncertainty, leaders, experts, and policymakers converged to grapple with the complexities of conflict, cooperation, and coexistence. The theme encapsulates the collective aspiration to counter the unprecedented challenges of our age through unity and innovation. The Davos Forum serves as a microcosm of the world's interconnected challenges. Amid the snow-laden landscapes of Switzerland, high-profile figures engaged in discussions transcending politics, economics, and technology. This year's emphasis on geopolitical tensions reflects a shift in global priorities, addressing not just immediate conflicts but also systemic weaknesses that perpetuate instability. Prolonged turmoil in Eastern Europe. The Ukrainian conflict. The protracted conflict in Ukraine remains emblematic of a broader global crisis, reverberating far beyond the battlefields of Eastern Europe. This enduring war has profoundly disrupted global energy markets, compelling European nations to urgently diversify energy portfolios in response to unpredictable supply chains. These disruptions have ignited waves of inflation, heightened food insecurity, and exacerbated socio-economic strains on vulnerable populations worldwide. Efforts to mediate a resolution through existing international frameworks have thus far faltered, leaving the global community at an impasse. Sanctions, although a key mechanism to deter aggression, have unveiled their double-edged nature, triggering unintended economic fallout, retaliatory measures, and intensified geopolitical rifts. This underscores the urgent need for strategies that transcend conventional responses and embrace multifaceted, innovative diplomacy. At Davos, European leaders voiced their concerns over the far-reaching implications of this conflict. Germany's chancellor emphasized the importance of reducing dependency on external energy sources, while French officials highlighted the need for a European-wide initiative to bolster food security and mitigate economic instability. In contrast, voices from nations such as Hungary and Poland underscored the limits of current sanctions, urging for strategies that combine pressure with incentives to foster dialogue. Beyond Europe, the Ukrainian crisis has spurred global debate about the effectiveness of international law in preventing conflicts. The erosion of agreements like the Minsk Protocol and the inability of the United Nations to enforce ceasefires have raised critical questions about the future of global governance. Experts at the forum proposed reinvigorating multilateral platforms by empowering regional organizations such as the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe, OSCE, to play a more prominent role in mediation and peacebuilding. Indo-Pacific frictions. Taiwan and strategic maritime disputes. As geopolitical volatility grips the Indo-Pacific, tensions surrounding Taiwan's sovereignty and territorial disputes in the South China Sea have emerged as critical flashpoints. These issues have not only strained regional stability but also intensified the global power struggle between the United States and China. This rivalry, spanning economic, technological, and military domains, risks spiraling into open confrontation. Dialogue at Davos centered on recalibrating this fraught relationship. Proposals included establishing direct communication channels to manage potential military flashpoints, crafting agreements to delineate trade zones, and fostering mutual respect for territorial sovereignty. Yet, the underlying mistrust and strategic posturing between these superpowers cast a long shadow over the prospects for de-escalation. The South China Sea, a region vital for international shipping and energy trade, has become a theater for military posturing. While the United States champions freedom of navigation, China asserts historical claims over vast maritime areas, leading to overlapping territorial disputes with nations like Vietnam, the Philippines, and Malaysia. At Davos, these nations advocated for a multilateral framework to address maritime disputes, emphasizing the importance of upholding international laws like the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, UNCLOS. The Taiwan issue, meanwhile, loomed large over discussions. Leaders expressed concerns about the potential consequences of escalating tensions, from the disruption of global semiconductor supplies to the broader implications for international security. Proposed solutions ranged from confidence-building measures, such as resuming bilateral military dialogues, to economic initiatives aimed at reducing interdependencies that exacerbate vulnerabilities. Reassessing multilateral frameworks. Reforming global institutions at the heart of discussions was a candid critique of multilateral institutions like the United Nations, which, despite their foundational mission to safeguard global peace, are increasingly viewed as inadequate in addressing today's crises. Structural limitations, bureaucratic inertia, and the paralyzing use of veto powers in the UN Security Council have hampered decisive action, particularly in responding to emerging conflicts. Calls for reform were both bold and contentious. Proposals ranged from restructuring the Security Council to expanding its membership and introducing mechanisms to curtail veto misuse. However, entrenched power dynamics among member states pose significant obstacles to these reforms, perpetuating the challenges of fostering collective global action. Critics highlighted the need to modernize institutions like the International Monetary Fund, IMF, and World Bank to reflect shifting global economic realities. Emerging economies such as India, Brazil, and South Africa demanded greater representation, arguing that the current frameworks disproportionately favor Western nations. The forum also explored the potential of regional organizations like the African Union and ASEAN to complement global institutions in addressing localized challenges. The escalating threat of cyber warfare and AI weaponization in the age of digital transformation, cyber warfare and the weaponization of artificial intelligence, AI, have emerged as formidable threats to global security. Cyberattacks targeting critical infrastructure, financial systems, and democratic processes have become alarmingly frequent, exposing vulnerabilities that transcend borders. The discussions at Davos underscored the imperative to establish international treaties and robust frameworks to govern the deployment of these technologies. Policymakers advocated for stricter regulations on the development and use of autonomous weapon systems, emphasizing the necessity of preemptive measures to prevent a catastrophic misuse of AI-driven innovations. Humanitarian crises and mass displacement. A growing challenge. The humanitarian consequences of ongoing conflicts have reached staggering proportions. With over 35 million individuals displaced globally, the refugee crisis epitomizes the human cost of war, persecution, and economic instability. Host nations in regions such as Europe, Africa, and the Middle East are grappling with immense social and economic pressures as they attempt to accommodate these displaced populations. At Davos, leaders called for a holistic, global response to address this crisis. Solutions ranged from increasing humanitarian aid and bolstering refugee camps to devising policies that facilitate the integration of displaced individuals into host societies. The forum also shed light on the intersection of climate change and displacement, emphasizing that climate adaptation strategies must become integral to humanitarian planning. Economic implications of geopolitical rivalries. Trade and sanctions. The economic fallout of geopolitical tensions has emerged as a recurring theme. Trade wars, coupled with the pervasive use of economic sanctions, have disrupted supply chains and deepened economic fragmentation. Europe's energy crisis, exacerbated by reliance on unpredictable suppliers, serves as a stark illustration of how geopolitics directly impacts economic resilience. To counter these vulnerabilities, leaders advocated for a comprehensive approach, diversifying trade partnerships, localizing critical industries, and accelerating the transition to sustainable energy systems. Additionally, modernizing trade agreements to reflect the realities of an increasingly multipolar world was highlighted as an essential step towards economic stability. Innovative pathways to peace. Conflict resolution strategies. Despite the somber outlook, the forum showcased encouraging examples of successful conflict resolution initiatives. Nations such as Norway and Switzerland emphasized their roles as impartial mediators, advocating for the integration of diplomacy with economic incentives to address disputes. Regional organizations like ASEAN and the African Union were also celebrated for their localized approaches to promoting stability. Case studies presented at Davos offered actionable insights into strategies for peacebuilding. These included fostering regional economic integration, engaging grassroots communities in reconciliation processes, and leveraging cultural diplomacy as a means of building trust among conflicting parties. Climate change as a catalyst for conflict. Rethinking security. Climate change, often framed as an environmental crisis, is increasingly recognized as a catalyst for conflict. Resource scarcity, exacerbated by global warming, has intensified competition over vital resources such as water, arable land, and energy supplies. This phenomenon is particularly acute in regions already grappling with instability, including sub-Saharan Africa and the Middle East. At the forum, leaders emphasized the need to embed climate adaptation within global security strategies. Environmental cooperation was heralded not only as a means of mitigating conflict but also as an opportunity to build trust and foster collaboration across borders. Charting a collective path forward. As the curtains close on the World Economic Forum 2025, a clarion call emerges. The crises of our time demand a paradigm shift in global governance. The convergence of armed conflict, economic instability, and technological threats underscores the necessity for a renewed commitment to multilateralism and collective problem-solving. Through dialogue, innovation, and unwavering resolve, the global community must chart a path that transcends divisions and fosters a more secure, equitable, and sustainable future. The discussions at Davos serve as a testament to the enduring belief that, despite the fractures, a united world is not beyond reach. Don't forget to comment and like. Thank you for watching.